I want to transition now and talk a little bit about big tech and the suppression and things that go on with the internet. And thrilled to have Carl Szabo. He's the Vice President and General Counsel for NetChoice. He's also a professor of Internet Law at the George Mason Scalia Law School. And I'm thrilled to have him on. Carl, thanks for joining us on Fox Across America.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. We got to figure out a way to get you back in Congress because we need all the help we can get in D.C.
Well, thank you. Very kind of you. Hey, I got to tell you, I won awards for, advocating for free and open internet and pushing back on things like, SOPA, the Stop Online Piracy Act, where government would have more control over the internet. But there's this counterbalance or this counter problem that I see out there with the suppression and what seems to be a concerted effort to do things that I don't think people would be able to get away in another consumer type of setting. But look, you're the professor. You've written about this. Explain to us where you're coming from and what you see as the big challenges out there.
Yeah, it's really tough. Look, I'm a conservative, and when I see some of the actions that are taken by the big tech businesses, it pisses me off. It makes me really upset, and I ask myself, how can they get away with it? The same questions that you're asking yourself. But the thing is, when I put on my conservative hat and I look to my originalist values, I realize that I would much rather have private businesses engaged in this than handing that power over to the government.
Amen.
And that's what really kind of scares me, because guess what? If Twitter's doing something I don't like, I can just quit Twitter. It's much harder for me to leave the United States of America. And as much as Facebook may punish me by kicking me off their service, they can't put me in prison. And unfortunately, a lot of my colleagues in the conservative movement are frustrated, and rightfully so. I'm frustrated all the time. But the answer is not more government. The answer is private industry. We need more investment, more innovation in things like RightForge, in things like Truth Social, in things like Elon Musk buying up Twitter. And that's the free market working, not the government.
So how do we get around this whole idea that, I think they're manipulative. I think that the way they treat the consumer is misleading. When you say, like, I have supposedly 550,000 followers on Twitter, but if I send out a message that says, hey, Donald Trump was, it was good to see him today, or he's a nice guy, or was a good president, it goes to like 30 people. And that they're not being honest with me.
That's one of the things that I tell them every time I see them is, you got to be truthful with people, and you got to tell them what they're doing. One of the things that I often talk about is how if the speed limit's 55 miles per hour and you want people to drive 55 miles per hour, tell them the speed limit's 55 miles per hour. But the challenge begins, though, when it comes to free speech, identifying kind of that black and white decision. Good example would be, what is terrorist speech? What is hate speech?
Right.
You can ask a Democrat and a Republican, get two completely different answers. And that's one of the challenges. So if they come out and say no terrorist content, it's really hard to figure out where that lands. And that's the problem with free speech. Our Supreme Court can't figure that out. But what we do need is more opportunity out there. Because, look, I grew up in Washington, D.C., and the only outlets I had to read were the Washington Post and New York Times.
Right.
And now we have so much more access to shows like yours, to information that is out there on conservative networks. I can go to Fox.com. I can go to Fox TV. These are things I didn't have growing up. Conservatives didn't have growing up. We had Rush Limbaugh, but now we have so much, much more.
And now we have to go to commercial. Carl Szabo, I wish I had more time with you. Thanks for joining us today. We'll be right back. Stay with us.